Monday pinned this man one time. Pinned him again for a 5 count.
He told the referee keep counting to 5.
The fact of the matter is this: on the five-time WCW champion. Now can you dig that?
Oh, what is up, Straight Talk Society? This is your host, Trevor, and I'm back with another episode of 5 Count. My 5 takeaways from tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. And tonight, I thought tonight was a pretty good episode of Monday Night Raw. But let's get into it. Hopefully I can get these shows down to that 10-minute mark, that sweet spot. So let's get into it. My 5 takeaways from tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. Number 5. Will Otis snap? So earlier in the show, Chad Gable was completely berating Alpha Academy, which he should, because it's just a stable of losers. Maxine Dupree, just whatever. Tozawa would be great, but they have him in this comedy role. And then Big Otis. Otis never took that next gear in his career. But I think tonight may be the start of him getting on the right course, because Chad Gable slapped the shit out of him after he lost a match to Sami Zayn. So Gable puts all of them in matches. Well, not Maxine Dupree, but he puts Tozawa in a match with, at first, Sami Zayn, but then he was like, you know what? He put him in a match with Big Bronson Reed, and you could tell already that didn't go good. And he put Otis in the match with Sami Zayn because, hey, being smart, let me put my opponent in the ring with a bigger guy, and let's see if he'll weaken him up. So that was smart. That was very smart the way he did it. But Otis did come out on the losing end because he'd rather pose and do the worm and all that other crap. And Gable just went off on him, pissed off, slapped the shit out of him, and then Otis just gave this sad look in the camera. So it's coming. At some point, Otis is going to have his Virgil moment where he turns on the $1 Million Man. That's basically how that's going to go. So I'm here for it, man, because I like Big Otis. He worked really hard. Yeah, I mean, he was the heart and soul of Heavy Machinery, even though I like that team as a collective. But yeah, Big Otis, can't wait for him to snap. So my number 4 takeaway from tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw is, oh man, we had Becky Lynch taking on Dakota Kai in a non-title match. Dakota Kai, I'm so happy that she's finally getting some shine. Dakota Kai is a tremendous character, and she looks like she might be the de facto leader of Damage Control. They haven't said it, but she's the one doing all the talking. She's the one, in the forefront of everything. And I'm happy for her, man. I remember in NXT, my favorite Dakota Kai in NXT was when she wrestled Shayna Baszler, and she was afraid of Shayna Baszler. See, I go way back when there was a time where Shayna Baszler was just breaking everybody's arms, and Dakota Kai was so afraid of her. They ended up having a match, and then somewhere in the match, Dakota Kai just snapped and, wasn't afraid anymore and fought her bully. I mean, she ended up losing, but she still fought her bully in a valiant effort. And I'm glad tonight her and Becky had a really good match. I'm not a fan of Becky Lynch. It is what it is. I don't think she's good in the ring, and this man character is wearing thin on me. But they did have a good match. And towards the end, I knew it wasn't going to end clean because there's no way Damage Control could be ringside and they let Dakota Kai lose clean. So they did cause the interference at the end. Laya Valkyria did come out for the save. So a nice crowd reaction. This crowd was really, really good tonight. This crowd was a really good crowd, man. They were up for everything. I think there was like 4 to 5 This Is Awesome chants throughout the night. It was great, man. You come to a pro wrestling event, enjoy pro wrestling. Don't sit on your hands like an idiot. Don't try to be a snob. Come to the matches and enjoy the matches. I lose my voice after every wrestling show I go to because, hey, I pay my money. I'm going to enjoy the show. Then Liv Morgan comes out of nowhere and just nails Becky Lynch. I'm really loving this Liv Morgan character, man. Liv Morgan is growing on me in this kind of, sneaky character, and just, Liv Morgan's really growing on me, man. It's not like shout out to Bones in the building. Yeah, Liv Morgan is really, really growing on me. And like I said again, I'm not a fan of Becky Lynch. I was a fan of Becky Lynch back around WrestleMania 35 time, the initial beginning of the man. But now she's just like almost like a caricature of herself. I don't know what it is, but she needs to find it and get it back. And that's where we are with that. So my number 3 takeaway from tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw is we got new number 1 contenders. The Judgment Day are now new number 1 contenders for the tag titles held by Awesome Truth, and they won this number 1 contendership in an awesome fatal 4-way match with the help of Carlito of all people. So Carlito was in the back with them, saying he wants to join Judgment Day because they could watch his back. He could be a good enforcer, things like that. Carlito is looking a little lean now, man. He's looking a little lean, getting lean like myself, man. 5 pounds down. He is getting a little lean, and but Damian Priest wasn't having it. Damian Priest was like, "Nah, I don't trust you, this and that." So yeah, no dice. So towards the end of the match, Carlito did come out and run interference for Judgment Day, Finn Balor, and JD McDonough in what I thought was a great 4-way match. The Creed brothers looked the Creed brothers are awesome. I think the Creed brothers' time is coming, but it's not now. Because I think when they get the titles, they're going to run with the titles. I wouldn't be surprised if Awesome Truth loses these titles soon, and whoever they lose them to, the Creed brothers get them. Or if Awesome Truth defends the titles at the Saudi show against Judgment Day and retain, then they lose them to AOP, and then the Creed brothers are the ones that take them from AOP. The Creed brothers are awesome. I mean, my God, the Creed brothers are awesome. You had Judgment Day, you had the Creed brothers, you had New Cash Republic, and you had who was the 14th, and you had AOP. Again, another loss for AOP. I mean, they didn't eat the pin, but just another loss for them. Those big guys shouldn't be losing these matches like this. I mean, they have a terrible win-loss record since they've been back. Shout out to those of you watching. I know I don't normally go live on Monday Night Raw for a 5 count, but just something new that I'm trying. Please make sure and hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Let your friends know the Raw recap is on right now. So again, I almost said Carmelo Hayes. Carlito did run interference with a backstabber on the announce table, which didn't make any sense because I don't, he did a move that hurt himself even more. So I guess they'd play into it and be like, hey, he risked his body to help Judgment Day get the win. So they could play off of that story. Then they went to the back. Damian Priest, told him it was good shit for him sticking up for them. And, so apparently Carlito's going to have a match with Rey Mysterio. And they were like, you need somebody to watch your back and things like that. So it looks like Judgment Day may be adding a new member because they're absolutely going to lose one when when Damian Priest leaves. So where are we now? Number two. My number two top takeaway from Monday Night Raw. Yeah, the Creed brothers are old school, man. The Creed brothers are awesome, man. And Julius Creed is the one that's going to get the most shine. I can see Julius Creed actually being the world champion at some point. But Brutus is badass, man. That Brutus ball is crazy because he gets up there, and that's just like reckless abandon. Like it is awesome. The Creed brothers are awesome, and they suplex machine. What I would be interested in seeing, and I know this may not happen, but I'd be interested in seeing this, is for Chad Gable to dump um to dump Alpha Academy. Just kick him to the curb. Because Maxine Dupree, let's face it, she's terrible. I mean, it is what it is. Let's stop kidding ourselves. And Tozawa is comedy fodder, and Otis. I think Otis could be something if he gets away from them. He could feud with Gable in a more serious role. But I would love to see Chad Gable take the Creed brothers under his wing, form the stable that Diamond Mine was supposed to be in NXT, and do it right on the main roster with Chad Gable as the leader. I think that would be awesome, man. You have Ivy Nile and Brutus and Julius Creed under the tutelage of Chad Gable. That would be friggin' awesome. Probably won't happen, but they're made for a Gable faction absolutely made for a Gable faction like a Team Angle. They fit perfect. They fit like a glove. So watch WWE don't do it. So my number two takeaway from tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw is Drew versus Priest. So Drew McIntyre opens the show. He's still not cleared. They say he's gonna be cleared soon, but he comes out bitching and complaining about CM Punk as usual. It's just fantastic. He's a troll at this point. Damian Priest comes out, and this is the best I've heard Damian Priest sound, the coolest I've seen Damian Priest look. He comes out with the title, and he says, "Hey, you had your moment. I did exactly what you said. You told me that I should cash in on you. And when you had the moment and you won the title in front of your wife, you cared more about CM Punk than you did about the title and your wife." Just a burner of a line. Drew had no comeback, but Drew did tell him. He said that you're holding the belt because they're hoping that the title makes the man, whereas with me, I'd make the title. So again, making the title the most important thing. That's why I wanted Drew McIntyre to win this belt from the beginning, because I think Drew would absolutely do wonders with this belt. And I'm wondering if they're going to have this match at the Saudi show, and then Drew, or they prolong it to Clash at the Castle, and that's where Drew wins. But I don't know. Shout out to Keela in the building. Last week on 5 Count, I did mention that it looks like CM Punk is gonna be ready to go. That was just me making that up. I hadn't heard it from anybody or anything like that. See, I could say I made things up. I'm not going to run with a narrative and say that it's fact. I'm saying I made it up just based off of things that I saw. So who knows, man? But the world title scene is heating up. They got to get Gunther in there some way. Hopefully Gunther wins the King of the Ring, and then, he gets a title shot. Speaking of Gunther, my number one takeaway from tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw is the King of the Ring. King and Queen of the Rings. Again, I love tournaments. Hey, you guys were pissed off at me that I did a top 5 WrestleMania, and WrestleMania 4 was my number 5, because I love tournaments. I love the King of the Ring concept. I wish they would have did this whole tournament in one night. I just love tournaments. I love the tournament aspect, but these matches have been really, really good. And I'm not just talking about from the men. These women have been kicking ass and putting in work. So I kind of got these matches not in any order, but just what I thought was least to best. Not necessarily that anyone was bad. It's just that, these are my least to my favorite. Lia Valkyria did defeat Zoe Stark in what I thought was a really good match. Both of these women had bad matches last week, so it was great to see them come back this week and have really good matches. They worked really good together. Like I said earlier, the crowd was Chris Benoit. The crowd was really, really behind Lia Valkyria, which is good. The crowd is behind her because I'm pretty sure they're leading towards her versus Becky at some point. So Lia Valkyria did get the win, and she moves on to the semifinals to take on the winner of Io Sky versus Shayna Baszler in what I thought was another great matchup. Man, Io Sky back to back. Io Sky versus Natalya last week was fantastic. I raved about that match, and here we go again. Shayna Baszler, they let Shayna Baszler be Shayna Baszler, just aggressive and ruthless. Shayna Baszler, even before the match, just attacked Io Sky. What I loved about this match, what I loved about this whole night, a lot of the heels were using the full 5 count. Hey, hence the name of the show, 5 count. I have till 5, referee. Shayna Baszler had to hold on, and she looked at the ref like, hey, I got a 5 count. So I really, really love that, man. Rules are in place. If you don't use them, what the hell are they there for? Like, that's why you have rules. Rules make wrestling matches better because heels break the rules. Even though this was a heel versus heel match, which I was shocked that it's heel versus heel and the crowd didn't completely crap on it. This match got a "This is awesome" chant. The tag team, the 4-way match got a "This is awesome" chant. I was really, really happy to see this, man. This was a great match. And what I love that they did off of this is that after the 2 women's matches, who was it? Jackie Redmond was in the ring to interview the winners. She didn't get much from Io because Io spoke Japanese, and Lyra, ain't that great on the mic, but it just gives them a chance to just get their character over. That's what I loved about it. I'm telling you, man, Triple H, he isn't hitting on everything, but he is hitting on some things, man. He is really just making this feel more like a sport. And that's what I love, man. It's more of a sports feel. Wrestling is listed as a sport. I know they like to call it sports entertainment, blah, 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 but it is just physical. It is a sport. And they're giving us a more of a sports feel. I love it. So let's get to the next. Oh, man. Then we had what I think is probably the match of the night. You had Gunther, former IC champion, taking on a hyped up, motivated Kofi Kingston. But hey, before this match even started, man, Kofi attacked the knee because, hey, listen, Kofi realizes Gunther's a badass. How do you beat a badass like this? You ground him. If he's on the ground, he can't do anything to you. So Kofi did a lot of attack the knee at the beginning. Gunther did come back with some brutal chops. This match was great, man. This match was nice and back and forth. Kofi, this was one of those matches where if I would have got this Kofi as WWE champion, I would have been okay with him. But instead, we got the pancake guy, the guy that comes to the ring and dances, the guy that shakes his ass like he's a woman. That's the Kofi that we got. But if we would have got this Kofi, serious Kofi, it would have been awesome. Like this match was tremendous, man. And I think I heard it could have been the Solid Monster. I'm almost sure it was the Solid Monster who said that Kofi, that Gunther, they're utilizing this half crab now as a finisher. And that's exactly how he won the match tonight with the half crab, because he cinches that bad boy in and he makes it look like it hurts. So Gunther did get the win, which to me wasn't in any doubt. I got Gunther winning the whole tournament, so this was never in doubt for me. Nevertheless, just because, and this is what I try to get through people's heads, just because it's predictable doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. Sometimes it's okay for things to be predictable. Predictability is good sometimes when it's actually executed right, and this was executed damn near to perfection. So Kofi's in the back, and Kathy Kelly is interviewing him. Well, before Kathy Kelly goes to interview him, Karrion Kross is just waiting and lurking in the wings. So that looks like they may be foreshadowing that's going to be a feud at some point. The Final Testament versus New Day. Man, it sucks that Big E, Big E won't be back, but that looks like the direction that we're going. So if we get some New Day matches versus the AOP, I think that'll be really good because the AOP does work well with these smaller teams. Shout out to you, of those of you watching. I know a couple of you are watching on Twitter. We're new to Twitter. This is where it's at. This is my show, 5 Count. Just a quick review of Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. We also do a show every other Wednesday called Wrestling with Reality. I just scheduled. We will be doing a live watch party for the main event of King and Queen of the Ring next Saturday. So we'll be doing a live watch along, the Cody versus Logan Paul. So be sure to tune into that. The whole crew will be here, and it's always fun to watch alongs. Pretty sure we're gonna get in an argument. It's a Cody Rhodes match. So that's par for the course. So let's get into the final match. So this is the match. So I thought this was a really good match. You had main event Jey Uso defeating Illa Dragunov. I thought this was a really good match. I wasn't a fan of the outcome, but I get it because Illa Dragunov is being interviewed in the back all week. Everybody's talking about, oh my God, we can get a Gunther versus Dragunov. They even teased it tonight where Gunther walks up on them and they're just doing the stare down. And when that happened, I was like, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. They're playing into it too much. Normally I would be mad about it because I'm like, oh man, I can't get Gunther versus Dragunov. But for those of you that saw Gunther versus Dragunov, you'll know why they may want to hold off on it, because you can make it bigger. You could really do it with some stakes on the line and do it at a pay-per-view, no commercials, and really have those guys go out there for 20, 30 minutes and beat the living hell out of one another, because that's what they will do. Jey Uso is just, my goodness, he's over. You check my shorts, you'll see a video that I took when we were at SmackDown and he came out. The guy is over. The best thing for him was leaving his brother. Sorry, not sorry, but the best thing for him was to leave his brother. The guy is absolutely over. I do not think he'll beat Gunther though. And that was their way of holding off the Dragunov Gunther match. So, I mean, like I said, I wish Dragunov would have won just because of the new guy, but I like how they're building Dragunov. His intensity is off the charts. Like he is just super intense. That's what they're playing into, and I mean, just uber intense guy. And he went out there and he beat the shit out of Jey. I think Jey was bleeding out of his ear. I mean, listen, Dragunov is the man. Illa Dragunov is the man. Small in stature, but just intense, beyond everything. So now we have the I didn't get the new brackets, but I mean, I know what they are. So now we have the semifinals all set for next week. You have Jey Uso taking on Gunther, and then you have so you got Jey Uso versus Gunther. Oh man, I had a brain fart. Now somebody in the chat help me out. Who's the other semifinal? Oh my goodness, I had a brain fart. So let me give a SmackDown one. Maybe it'll come back. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot this. But on the SmackDown side, you have no, what am I talking about? No, next week is Jey Uso. Forgive me. Normally I do these shows and then I do them and then I just edit them and then upload them. So we're live, pal. In the words of the great Jim Ross. Yeah, the semifinals is Gunther versus Jey Uso. And then on the men's side, On the men's side on SmackDown in the quarterfinals, you have Randy Orton versus Carmelo Hayes and LA Knight versus Tama Tonga. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll be back here this Friday. Yeah, Jay versus Gunther. I don't know what the hell. I mean, I had a brain fart. It's late, man. I got to get up 5 o'clock in the morning. But so we'll be here Friday for 5 count SmackDown review. May do a watch party for SmackDown because it's earlier, so I could actually just watch the show and not worry about having to go to work the next day. But thanks to you guys that came over. If you're new to this channel, just go ahead and check it out. I know if you're watching this and you're probably into wrestling, we got tons of wrestling. Just look under the Wrestling with Reality tab. It's 50 plus shows of wrestling history and pay-per-view reviews and things like that. 5 count is something new that I started maybe 2 months ago. I also have just like countdowns of various things like belt designs and top WrestleManias, top black champions of all times, just things like that, man. Been a wrestling fan for almost 40 years. So I just, I love wrestling. I got a wealth of knowledge. YouTube gives me the ability to get it out in the open in front of everybody. But overall, I thought tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw was really good, man. To me, Raw has been the more consistent show. SmackDown is still my favorite show because of the time. If Raw was a 2-hour show, then it would blow SmackDown out of the water. But Raw has been the most consistent show to me. And tonight there wasn't too much filler as it normally is. The backstage segments were short and sweet, and they had a real good emphasis on the wrestling. I mean, because hell, it's a wrestling company. That's what they do. They wrestle. So just great overall, man. Oh, what I did like too, I forgot to mention, during the Shayna Baszler and Io Sky match, Michael Cole mentioned that they were, what was it? What is the Japanese women's wrestling? I'm not familiar with that. Bones, help me out. What's the name of the Japanese woman promotion? But Michael Cole mentioned that, and I'm like, man, if this was Vince McMahon, he would never do that. You can't do that type of stuff. So I love the fact that they're having more freedom to actually act like other wrestling exists in the world, because it only makes your guys better if you spout off their accolades. Like, hell, this guy conquered this promotion. This guy conquered this promotion. But when you're under a Vince McMahon led organization and you act like none of this exists, you'd have thought this guy just fell out of the water. I get them not mentioning AEW, but you could mention New Japan. You could mention all those other places. They just never did it for so long. So I'm so happy that they're doing it now, man. It's awesome, man. Wrestling is fun again. When WWE is on fire, wrestling is fun. I like AEW. I'm an AEW fan. I don't get to watch it the way I'd like to watch it. So hopefully Bones will get free so we could do our AEW reviews. But I'm WWE first. So my commitment is to the WWE shows, and I give you honest, unbiased opinions on the shows, and that is how it goes. Let me see the Joshi, but yeah, it was a name. Stardom, that's what it was. Yes, Stardom. God, I'm having a brain fart tonight. I guess because it's so late, man. Yeah, it's 11:30 on where I am. But yeah, the Stardom. So Michael Cole mentioned that they were like 7-time Stardom champions, and it was so refreshing to hear him say that. Michael Cole has just been a breath of fresh air without having that madman in his ear. It's just great, man. Wrestling is fun again. Wrestling is fun again, and I love it, man. So thanks to you guys for tuning out the channel, into the channel. This has been 5 count. My 5 takeaways from Monday Night Raw. Tune in this Friday. We'll be doing a live watch party for Friday Night SmackDown with me and my daughter. She wants to review a show with me. So me and my 9-year-old daughter will be on reviewing the show this Friday. Until then, everybody be safe. Hey, just enjoy pro wrestling. Peace!
Monday pinned this man one time. And pinned him again for a 5 count.
He told the referee keep counting to 5.
Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in
5. The fact of the matter is this. On the five-time WCW